Consider this a lesson straight from the Literature Club.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
That saying is kind of bullshit. The way we experience the world is through our five senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing, and perhaps most importantly, through sight. Shape, language, and color tells us so much about what we're looking at, and through association, we're able to expect things just by looking at them. It's a survival instinct and intrinsically linked with the pattern recognition humans have innately. So, how is anyone supposed to go beyond first impressions? Well, the world is a surprising place. Looks can be deceiving, and the simple dismissal of something that seems unsavory can make such a huge difference. So, join me as we examine the cover, flip through the pages, and come out the other end with a newfound appreciation. From her cutesy exterior to her fiery personality and more, what makes Natsuki so divisive? Hello, and welcome to my observatory. My name is Lumanescent, or Luma for short, and today we're talking about everyone's least favorite little pink goblin. If I had to take a guess of who everyone's least favorite Doki was upon first viewing DDLC, I'd have to give it to Natsuki. Just based off exposure, plot relevance, all sorts of things. For instance, Monica, you could say, is the least favorite Doki of most people, but that's more because of things that she does within the story. She is, for the most part, the antagonist of the story, so of course her hate is going to be a lot more passionate than that of, like, Natsuki, for example, or Yuri or Sayori, right? Because she has more plot relevance. Natsuki is the least favorite because no one, like, on average, no one cares really that much, in comparison to Sayori, in comparison to Yuri. Like, they're more popular. She doesn't get a death scene. She doesn't get a confession scene. She barely gets any narrative focus, and she's stuck with the tsundere trope, love it or hate it, It's a staple of a lot of anime, so if you really, really, really don't like a tsundere, then you're not gonna like Natsuki, right? You see all these things that point towards her being a tsundere, the stance that she takes, and her face, and how she talks. And then you look at, well, how does she relate to the main themes of, like, mental health, and free will, and does she at all, really? Just looking at her. No, not really. Even looking at, like, her problems, you'd think her problems aren't mental health. It's like an outside situation. Does that really even count? So at the end of the day, she's a victim of circumstance inside the game, but also outside of the game, where no one really cares and no one really gives her the time of the day that she deserves. So it's up to us to give her that spotlight. It's no question what her signature color is, though it is notable that at certain spots, particularly in the eyes, it dips into purple, at least for me. I might just be completely wrong about that, but, I just look at it and this isn't pink, Anyway, pink represents innocence, love, passion, stuff like that. However, pink adds a hint of nostalgia, playfulness, kindness, and femininity. What's notable, though, is that pink wasn't always a girly color. It was once associated with guys, too. Sort of funny, then, that the two girls with shorter hair get this color to be predominant in their color scheme, potentially hinting at more tomboyish attitudes, which you could make a case for. But what you might not have noticed is deep in her eyes, there's a bit of yellow in there. So what does yellow represent? It represents fear, deceit, energy, and warmth, playing with her facade of this rude tsundere before she even opens her mouth, as if the pink and cutesy hairstyle didn't already do that for her. Natsuki has so much going on in the hair department. It's actually unreal. For sure, a DDLC artist's worst nightmare. On top of all of that, she has a numerous amount of red hair accessories. I'm no hairstylist, so whatever you guys think it is, or what it might represent, be sure to put in the comments. Moving on to her pose, it's so angular and uncomfortable. It's very defensive, like she's trying to keep things off or away from her. Besides that, though she definitely fits the cute on the outside mantra she obtains. Not that she'd ever want to hear that, but I don't really blame her. First thing out of Natsuki's mouth upon meeting her is a complaint, and it doesn't even seem to take anyone by surprise. Yuri reacts as if something like this has happened before. Even the ever-considerate Sayori tells you to ignore her outright when she gets cranky, not to mention the teasing from Monica. It all contributes to this overt dismissal everyone seems to have towards her. Everyone, including Maine and possibly the player, believes they know her deal, and whether they mean it or not have written her off in their minds. It's likely what makes her so eager about Maine's appreciation of manga, what? It's likely what makes her so eager about Maine's appreciation of manga. It may be the first time anyone has shown genuine enjoyment for something she likes as well. But it's also what makes her so hesitant to let him know about it, and why she's so defensive when a hint of judgment comes along. She's dealt with so much of it. She can sense it from a mile away. And she says this during her first scene, too, talking about her friends and how they don't take her or her manga seriously, and implying a negative reaction from her father if he ever figured out about them. This scene has always been so endearing to me. Her reactions to things in the manga, her switching comfort levels at the drop of a hat, things like that are exaggerated. Yeah, but I'd be lying if I said I've never felt like this when sharing something with someone, especially with anime, with all the weird cultural things that perhaps I don't get, or sometimes it's hard to find someone who's into the same thing you are. It's this fragility Natsuki's actively trying to push down that, to me and many others, is actually very endearing. She's always trying to push people away, keep her distance, but it doesn't always work for her. In fact, it usually never seems to work at all. The next day, we get the average anime hijinks scene with Natsuki, but where a time skip usually happens or we cut away to get to the next scene, we linger. Natsuki notices a huge crease in one of her manga, one she can't get out. And, out of frustration, she throws it to the ground and sobs. But watching her choke out how every day is so hard for her and that she just wants to come to the club to get something is honestly heartbreaking. And it makes me wonder what she was trying to say. What was she trying to get? What does she try to get every single day that just doesn't seem to come to her? And here, Maine continues to help by making sure to spend time with her and doing what he can to help the situation, picking up the manga, reminding her that he's there for her. And things eventually do go back to normal. Normal banter, normal day, and Natsuki seems appreciative. Normally I'd show the weekend scene about now, but I wanted to cover the last poem she gives to the player if you go down her route. It's called Because You. It talks about how, just by spending time with her, we prop her up. My words are less empty, my faith is a little bit stronger, and my standing is a little bit taller, all because you, because you, because you. This isn't cute, it's sincere, it's fragile. The most fragile Natsuki ever is in the club room. Even after you read this, she remains that way, staying as vulnerable as we ever see her. Well, maybe not, but while we're talking about it, the weekend scene just plays into how she loves her hobbies, has trouble opening up, but is desperately fighting to express herself freely and prove that she is always being true to herself. But she never quite seems to live up to that. There's also this small moment. There's this part where she says that you really shouldn't do that kind of thing to girls unless you really like them. And I've always had trouble not reading this as, there's no way you could possibly like me, right? That, what are you doing? What is this? What are we doing? You can't like me. There's no way. And then she stares at him. She stares at him after saying that. He has no response. She has no response. And if it weren't for the fire alarm, what would have come after that? I know it's supposed to be like a romantic tension thing, but I've never not been able to think of it as her basically saying, like, do you actually like me? Is this actually happening? Basically. And it's really cute. Anyway. She secretly hoped we'd have more time to spend with her. She doesn't want to go home, but she has to. And home, for Natsuki, is where the root of all of her problems lie. We'll be talking about themes of abuse. So, to skip this section, here is a timestamp. Thank you. You get the impression that her father is probably a little strict and unsupportive in Act 1, but by the time Act 2 rolls around, it's made a lot more clear. Not only is the underlying disrespect a lot more at the forefront in the club room, her abuse that she faces in her home life is also made more evident. Not to mention the secret poem, likely from Natsuki, describing her relationship with him, how he's judgmental, quick to anger, neglectful, yet somehow intrusive at the same time. This has led many to conclude her father is an alcoholic, and because her mother isn't mentioned anywhere, people assume her mom might be dead. Children who suffer abuse in many cases interpret anger more often when seeing someone's face, or are able to pick up on subtle tones in someone's voice. It's a kind of adaptation they pick up so they can survive. It's a natural instinct. It's judging a book by its cover. Further than that, because of this special poem and what Monica tells us later, Natsuki's only so small because she's malnourished. It takes this character design and kind of recontextualizes it. Normally, a thinner girl like Natsuki in a game like this isn't unusual, you know. In this context, her hunger makes her more irritable, more tired, and when combined with a sudden change in atmosphere, coming from the one place she feels safe, it really shows the humanity behind Natsuki. It shows her family life and how it makes her so defensive. It justifies all of the weird behavior she has and how defensive she gets, especially when a guy joins the club room and she's been abused by her father for so long, presumably. Of course she'd be wary of him. I imagine it's even worse when everyone starts taking his side instead of hers. Sure, Act 2 is kind of exaggerated in comparison to Act 1, but it really does take the little bits and problems that you can find if you look in Act 1 and pushes them to the forefront. The disapproval and dismissive attitude towards Natsuki in the first act is made 10 times worse in Act 2, and it only progressively gets worse as Act 2 goes on. So if we take the abuse, if we take all of what I just said and apply that same logic, it's still there in some way, shape, or form. It might be more subtle, it might be lessened, but it's still there. Now, here's another thing that probably makes Natsuki kind of divisive. In the Sayori video, I didn't really touch up on community headcanons as much as I wanted to, mostly because of the way I structured it. There just wasn't really a good place to put it, but here, as a bit of levity, let's talk about one that, just like Natsuki herself, took some getting used to before I liked it, and likely makes some people angry. Many people interpret Natsuki as transgender, and I know that upsets a lot of people, and, you know, at a certain point it upset me, too. On some ends, it's a joke explaining why her chest isn't as big as everyone else's. In that case, it's really reductive to her story and her struggle, and that's mostly where I get the argument that, hey, not cool. Her situation was amplified in Act 2, but there's no way of telling how true all of that was. But since she's still small no matter what, we can kind of assume that she's malnourished across the board. And using the transgender thing to justify that is kind of just gross. You know, removing this context from her character just for the sake of a transphobic joke. Not cool. However, Natsuki's themes of not judging other people's preferences, as long as they aren't hurting anybody, feed into a pretty queer-coded interpretation. Whether or not it's lesbianism or being gay or being trans, it is a way you could interpret this character, and a lot of people cling on to that. What sealed the deal for me specifically on this matter was her second poem, Amy Likes Spiders, which covers this exact idea and even implies some sort of crush on the Amy character presented in them, which, coming from Natsuki of all people, you get the idea, right? Something about Natsuki ain't quite straight, if you catch my drift. Some people take this a little further and interpret Natsuki as trans femme, which to me makes a lot more sense given the stuff that I mentioned before. Gender to Natsuki is kind of ingrained in her character, even down to the pink hairstyle, like I mentioned before. But again, pink wasn't always a girlish color. It transitioned into one over time. Everyone in the literature club embodies a feminine trope in anime. That's the point. But out of everyone, Natsuki pushes it the furthest. She's the one who's over the top. She's the one who's the most girly. She's the one who stands out the most. She, in her own right, is best girl. No doubt about it. And just like everyone else, Natsuki deserves some time in the spotlight. So sure, Natsuki is a divisive character, and she might be the least popular of everyone, but at the end of the day, she still has merit, she still has worth, she still has a story to tell, and I feel like maybe looking at her and seeing that, oh, she has nothing to do with the themes and whatnot is maybe not intentional, but that is important to the themes. Looking at Natsuki and saying, oh, well, she has nothing to do with mental health. No, she has everything to do with mental health. The situation she's been put into that she had no choice in the matter of, have shaped her in her view of the world and have impacted her in such a way that interacting with people is harder, living is harder, and if that's not a mental health issue, I don't know what is. Perhaps judging a book by its cover is bad, and that not looking into the themes and story found within is to reduce a book to simply what is on the outside. Sometimes you need to crack open the book and read it, appreciate it, and I hope in this video you found some newfound appreciation for Natsuki. Until next time, this is Lumanescent, signing off. Stay awesome.